Concept or reality? In this video, we're going to tell you what we think about Jeep toying with your emotions in a V8 Wrangler. Hey everybody, it's Bubba with X's Jeeps, and we build badass Jeeps. Hemi Wrangler, everybody's talking about it. So, is it real? Is it not real? Well, we don't know. A few days before the Bronco release, Jeep teased a pic on their Instagram about something. It just said, stay tuned.
Hashtag stay tuned.
It didn't say that there was a V8 Wrangler coming out. In fact, it wasn't like a new picture. It was the same picture that they had been teased for their Easter Jeep Safari concept that we never saw because Easter Jeep Safari never happened. Everybody got to talking about it, you know, and then Bronco's coming out. Is Jeep finally going to create a V8 Wrangler to compete with the new Bronco that's coming out?
Dennis.
Let's have a scrap.
About fucking time is starting to think it was never going to come.
I would say within a week, forums are putting stuff out and everybody's like dead set.
I'm 1,000% sure.
Yeah, absolutely 100% Jeeps coming out with a V8 Wrangler.
Are you sure about that?
The funny thing is, though, is that Jeep themselves have not confirmed nor denied this is happening. So what's real here? Is Jeep really coming out with something, or are they just toying with everyone's emotion?
Quit playing games with my heart.
In my opinion, I think they're just toying with everyone's emotions. They're trying to steal a little bit of the thunder from Bronco. They're a little bit insecure. It's pretty obvious. Totally understand that because Ford's done what it looks like to be a pretty good job on the Bronco. So why do I think that it's, for lack of a better word, bullshit? Well, let's talk about it. Why haven't they produced a V8 before this? You know, there hadn't been a V8 in a Jeep since the CJ days. Ever since the Wrangler was produced with a YJ, there haven't been any V8s in it, other than what shops like myself have been doing. You know, for a long time, we've been putting LS engines and Hemis in these things in the aftermarket to give them the power that people want. So going into that, when you're designing and building the new JL Wrangler, you know, years ago, this didn't happen at the beginning of 2019. They had years and years of design going into the JL. So knowing that their customers were begging for V8s, why didn't they just come out with a V8? Everybody still wanted the V8. Well, the crumple zone in the front can't handle it. There's not enough room. So you can't just put a V8 in there from the factory and expect it to pass the crash test. It wasn't doing it.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
Couldn't do it.
Not gonna do it.
If they knew that they wanted a V8, they're building a new Jeep, then why didn't they keep building the frame until they could put a V8 in there and pass crash test? So that's a little bit suspicious to me. Second, price. You know, if they're really putting an SRT motor, a 392 in the Wrangler, I would not imagine that you could buy a sport baseline Jeep Wrangler and get a 392 engine in it. I mean, we're talking about an SRT package, right? Why would they throw that in a sport model? They're gonna try and make that a little bit more appealing. There's nothing sexy about a sport Wrangler stock as hell with an SRT motor in it. So forget it. You're gonna have to buy something like a Rubicon to get the SRT motor. On top of that, we're talking about 485 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque. You're gonna have to have a different transmission that's what in there now. So you're gonna have to go with 8 HP 75, I would imagine. You're not gonna wanna run Dana 44s with that, because what's the first thing anybody's going to do is lift it and put 37s on it, and then you're going to go out and try and, you know, do a burnout in this thing, and you're going to end up shattering that ring of pinion. Is it realistic to assume that if Jeep is going to build this, it's going to be in a Rubicon package, it's going to be decked out, and then you're going to have to add some sort of axles to this thing, at least in the rear, that can hold up to that much horsepower and torque. Price tag on this thing would be astronomical. I would venture to say that a Gladiator Rubicon with some sort of axle in the back, I'm not going to assume that it's a Dana 60, it could be anything bigger than a Dana 44, loaded out with an SRT motor, at least 70,000. I doubt that you're going to be putting a Pro Comp lift on that vehicle. You're going to want to put something on there that's premium. I would imagine at least at minimum coilovers, and then you're going to put 40s on it. Now what's that price tag look like? It looks like when we build them that way in the aftermarket. I think that's another reason why it's not going to happen. Emissions wise, Jeep's been struggling with this for years anyways. A lot of the reasons some of these little janky Jeeps like the Renegade exist is to try and offset some of that emissions that they're not meeting. So, you know, it all comes out to an average, and that's what that's meant to do. You're only gonna hurt that, make it harder by producing a 392 Wrangler. Emissions is gonna be a big part in that, more than what people are probably giving it credit for. Rumor is there's like 27 Wranglers driving around with 392s in it, but that's a rumor. Rumor has it that there's probably gonna be a few of these Jeeps at King of the Hammers. What could it be? Let's say that Jeep is building a V8 Wrangler. I can tell you 100% for fact that there is a project called the J9. It's not a secret, you can look that up. It is a V8 Wrangler for industrial use. That is something that is real, and it should be coming out towards the end of this year, 2020. It's not gonna be available to the masses. Well, I'll put it to you this way. If I'm Jeep and everybody's wanting a V8, chances are I'm not putting the 392 in it, and I'm probably gonna put the 5.7. Is there anything wrong with the 5.7? No, I mean, in all honesty, it makes a whole lot more sense to me. The 5.7, it puts out 395 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque, according to the specs that I have found online. The 392 Hemi is 485 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque. You can get more out of it with some tuning, but that's coming from the factory, I guess, for the Rams. A 5.7 option sounds a lot more realistic than the 392, the SRT motor. For one, I would think that the 5.7 would be something that you could get in any one of the lower models, like say a Sport. You know, you don't have to dress it up because it's not
An SRT motor.
So I think honestly that if Jeep is actually going to produce a V8 Wrangler, that it would be the 5.7. That would make the most sense to me. Hey, if you don't agree with that, let me know why. 392, that's a big boy, and it's a lot of power putting in there. I see it causing a lot of brakes and ring pinions and all kinds of axle shafts. Good Lord, man. Yeah, I'd see us breaking a lot of stuff out there on the way Jeep would build it. And keep that in mind. When those guys get involved and they start trying to meet standards, they dumb this stuff down a lot. Will Jeep ever make a V8 Wrangler or Gladiator? I don't know, but you can rest assured that we in the aftermarket got you covered. For more cool videos on Jeeps and other 4x4 stuff, click here.